Hello my friend, and welcome to this month's Good News Show, where we take a look at what's gone right over the last month, and hopefully I can give you a much needed break from doom scrolling. If you're new here, I'm Sam and I make videos about good news and solutions to some of the world's biggest problems. And if you've been here before, it's lovely to have you back, and if you're enjoying these good news roundups, tap that like button to help fight the doom and gloom in the algorithm with a bit of positivity. Now let's get into it. Here's some good news from July that you might have missed. In a historic move, Mexico has passed a nationwide ban on dolphin shows and the use of marine mammals in entertainment. Backed unanimously by both the Senate and the Chamber of Deputies, the new law prohibits dolphins from being used in performances, therapy, research, or breeding programs unrelated to conservation. This decision follows growing public pressure and recent outrage over a controversial dolphinarium in the Riviera Maya. The law is a direct response to years of investigations and campaigning that exposed the suffering of dolphins in captivity. Studies reveal that over 300 dolphins in Mexico have been confined to tanks, forced into performances, and subjected to chronic stress, disease, and abnormal behaviours. Dolphins already held in captivity cannot be released but must now be cared for under strict welfare standards for the remainder of their lives. Mexico now joins Costa Rica and Chile in banning dolphin shows, marking a major victory for animal welfare in Latin America. This next story takes us to the US and one of the coolest names for a swamp I've ever heard. One of the largest wildlife refuges in the US was just protected from mining. A $60 million deal by the Conservation Fund will stop a titanium mine near Georgia's Okefenokee Swamp. The non-profit bought 7,700 acres from Twin Pines Minerals, ending a 6-year effort by Georgians and folks across the South to protect North America's largest blackwater swamp from mining. The Okefenokee is home to alligators, wood storks, and bald eagles, and mining will not only have threatened those precious species, but also the swamp's water levels, the St. Mary's River, and critical carbon stored in its peat soils. And the Okefenokee isn't just an ecological treasure, it's an economic engine for the region. Over 800,000 people visit the swamp each year, generating nearly $100 million for local communities in Ware, Charlton, and Clinch counties. This is sustainable long-term revenue that supports local businesses, jobs, and families, in sharp contrast to the short-term gains of mining that would have primarily benefited outside interests. Next, researchers from Sweden and China made a breakthrough that may help deaf people restore their hearing. In a world-first clinical breakthrough, a cutting-edge gene therapy is helping deaf people to hear just 1 month after a single injection. The study followed 10 patients aged 1 to 24 with a rare genetic form of deafness caused by mutations in the OTOF gene. Each received a single injection of a healthy version of the gene directly into the inner ear. Within 6 months, all participants' ability to hear improved, going from barely hearing extremely loud noises to being able to detect everyday sounds like speech and conversation. One 7-year-old girl recovered almost all of her hearing and was holding daily conversations with her mother just 4 months later. And scientists say that this is just the beginning. They're now working to target more common genes linked to deafness, bringing hope to millions around the world. From water companies dumping raw sewage into our waterways while their CEOs take massive bonuses, to toxic runoff from industrial chicken farms that suffocate fish and destroy ecosystems, and of course plastic pollution, our rivers are under attack from all angles. But this next story is about some graduates who are stepping up to tackle one of those threats. Graduates from Princeton University developed a filter that pulls microplastics out of water before they reach the ocean or our bodies. It's called Polygon, and it's being trialled in New Jersey right now. It was started by Princeton grads Nathaniel and Idian, who were tired of watching governments ignore the microplastics problem. So they built a smart filter that copies how plant roots work. Plants' fine hair-like fibres grab onto microplastics in the water, kind of like Velcro, but instead of plants, they built silicone versions designed to attract and trap even the tiniest bits of plastic more effectively. The filters are self-cleaning, energy efficient, and can be installed in under a day. They catch up to 98% of microplastics at a 90% lower cost than other systems. Microplastics have been found in brain tissue and even the air we breathe, and are known to disrupt hormones and may even cause cancer. So by stopping them before they reach rivers and oceans, Polygon isn't just cleaning up nature, but protecting us too. And while we're in New Jersey, we can't go on without mentioning the incredible bravery of one New Jersey native. Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin, originally from Oxford in Warren County, helped save 165 people during the catastrophic flooding in central Texas, and he was on his very first rescue mission. He spotted a crowd of children stranded at a flooded summer camp and helped lead a mass rescue effort. Ruskin said he saw a huge crowd of about 200 kids at a campsite. "We were like, cool, that's where we're gonna go and get out as many people as we can." Though he was quick to shift the limelight and said the true heroes were the kids on the ground who were heroic and stayed strong during some of the worst times of their lives. And more heroes headed in from across the border. Over 20 firefighters and first responders from Ciudad Acuña in Mexico joined crews in Kerr County to assist with ongoing search and recovery efforts during the devastating flooding. Working alongside the Mountain Home Fire Department, the Mexican teams from Fundación 911 brought not only manpower, but also drones and rescue technology to help locate those still missing. Amid tense political rhetoric around immigration, Fundación 911 offered a message that cut through the noise. "Our duty is with life, hope and solidarity." And in a moment defined by loss, the acts of courage this month are reminders of what solidarity really looks like. Now onto the next story. No child should stand alone in court facing deportation without proper support. Sadly, no child in the US is guaranteed representation by an attorney in immigration court. But Immigrant Defenders Law Center, based in California, is helping children, deported veterans, and people fleeing war or persecution to navigate the challenges of the law by providing free legal support. Unaccompanied children who received some kind of legal representation were 7 times more likely to be allowed to remain in the United States. So this kind of support is essential to giving children the opportunities they need for a better future. In 2023 alone, Immigrant Defenders represented over 2,000 people in immigration court, offering legal services to those who would otherwise be left to fend for themselves in a complex and hostile system. So through their work, they're helping to build a fairer and more equitable society. On top of this, in LA's Boyle Heights, a group of high school students are supporting immigrants by delivering groceries to undocumented families too afraid to leave home due to the ICE raids. By raising money through donations, they shop for food and drive it straight to the doorstep of those in need. If you want to support their work, you can find them over on Instagram and DM them to see how you can help. Before we jump into the next story, if you don't mind hitting that like and subscribe button down below, it helps tell YouTube to show this video to more people and helps spread the word of all the wonderful people doing good. And in another David versus Goliath story, citizens in Texas beat fossil fuel giants Exxon in court after a 15-year battle, and they now must pay a $14.25 million penalty for nearly a decade of illegal air pollution. I spoke to Environment America about this win.
Howdy, Sam. It's Luke Metzger with Environment Texas. We just won a major legal victory against ExxonMobil. Back in 2010, we sued the company for over 16,000 violations of the Clean Air Act at the company's Baytown, Texas refinery and chemical plant complex. Those violations led to over 10 million pounds of dirty air pollution going into the community of Baytown. Exxon filed appeal after appeal of court rulings in our favor, and their final appeal to the US Supreme Court was just rejected. After we sued, Exxon invested more than $1 billion in pollution control upgrades at the facility, and that led to a years-long decline in toxic emissions. Now Exxon will pay a record $14.25 million penalty and suffer damage to its reputation, while we won an important legal precedent that holds that no polluter is above the law. This is a major victory for clean air, for a community that has long been suffering from this pollution, and for the principle that when the government fails, the everyday people need to be able to step up and defend themselves.
And I've got one more example showing the power of people that happened this month. The plan to sell US public lands was dropped from the big beautiful bill. Senator Mike Lee withdrew the proposal after massive backlash, in a huge win for American people and public lands. These lands will now stay protected and accessible to all and not sold for private development. It's also important to remember that these public lands are often ancestral homelands of indigenous nations, so selling them off doesn't just threaten outdoor access, it also continues a long history of dispossession, undermining the deep cultural and spiritual connections Native communities have with these lands. And this victory proves that people power works. Groups like the Outdoor Alliance, the Wilderness Society, and backcountry hunters and anglers, alongside countless individuals, flooded lawmakers with over 500,000 messages to help get this victory over the line. And the fight is still not over, so if this is a topic that you're passionate about, go check out the Outdoor Alliance to see how you can get involved. As heat waves intensify and energy costs rise, researchers at Virginia Tech are looking to ancient wisdom for a modern cooling solution. They've developed 3D printed clay columns that cool the surrounding air by up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, using a technique called evaporative cooling, which needs no electricity. Each column is filled with water and sand, and as warm air passes through the porous clay, the water slowly evaporates, drawing heat out of the air, just like the ancient systems in Egypt, India, and China. Unlike traditional air conditioning, these structures use no power, no chemicals, and produce zero carbon emissions. And thanks to the 3D printing capabilities, they can be made into complex shapes to boost their cooling ability and reimagined as wall partitions, chairs, or even building blocks. Their goal is to reimagine beautifully simple, low-cost ways to stay cool by bringing ancient techniques back into the global climate solution conversation, where they're long overdue and undervalued. Before this last story, I just want to say a big thank you to my patrons and YouTube community who help me produce these videos and shine a light on people fighting for our planet and one another. And for the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can join the fight against the doom and gloom and help me produce these videos, get access to exclusive content, and get your name in them too. Simply type this URL in or click the link that's in the description, or if you don't want to leave YouTube, just simply tap the join button down below. This next story comes from Down Under, where a record-breaking number of whales have been counted in the 26th annual whale census in New South Wales. 2023's record of 5,000 whales has already been broken, but the census is running till August and around 40,000 whales are expected to pass by the coastline. In the 1960s, whale populations had dropped to the hundreds, but they've been increasing year on year, thanks to conservation efforts and public awareness campaigns. Now each year, hundreds of volunteers join in the count, setting up folding chairs and binoculars along the coast in hopes to catch a glimpse of humpback whales, minke whales, and even newborn calves. Our final story is fittingly about someone else's beautiful final story. A man in Maine became the first person in North America to be buried in a mushroom coffin, marking a groundbreaking moment for green burials. Developed by Dutch company Loop Biotech, the Loop living cocoon is made using mycelium, the root system of fungi. These options are part of a growing movement to replace traditional burials which use toxic embalming chemicals, hardwood, and concrete that can pollute the soil for decades. Instead, this living coffin is grown in just 7 days using local mushrooms and upcycled hemp fibres, forming a sturdy shell that can carry up to 200 kilograms. Once buried, it naturally breaks down within 45 days, helping to regenerate soil health and turning the body into a source of life for the forests around it. That was exactly the idea behind Mark Anker's burial. A lifelong gardener and artist, he'd always wanted to be laid to rest close to nature. After his passing, his daughter honoured that wish by burying him under the trees on their family property. Today, the site is being transformed into a memorial garden, a space where grief is gently turned into new growth. Let me know in the comments if you'd prefer an option like that. Before we wrap up, I want to say a huge thank you to Brilliant who sponsored this video, allowing me to spend more time and invest more resources into them to make them as good as they can be. If you're like me and you learn best by doing rather than listening or reading, then Brilliant could be, well, brilliant for you. It's an interactive learning app proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. They've got thousands of lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI that help you become a better thinker and problem solver. For example, there's a lot of graphs, charts, and complex data when it comes to sustainability, and if you've ever felt lost trying to make sense of it all, Brilliant has a bunch of data courses that teach you how to spot trends, interpret real-world data, and make better informed decisions too. Oh, and you can try it for free for 30 days. Head to brilliant.org/Sam Bentley, scan the QR code on screen, or hit the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Now that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you the same place, same time next month, my friend. Bye!